Hey, we have our first 25 listeners.
Yeah.
24, I think, were my mother, but one of them was probably just a lost guy,
I
you know,
watched it a couple of
clicking around.
times.
Was that you? Well, it's funny. We did get some feedback. I don't know. So on Twitter, I got one person noted not funny. That was
Yeah.
nice. One of them says, "You call me." I was like, "Oh, that's nice." And then the best one was, "Your face is." This is talking in reference to me. "Your face is grotesque. Get a plastic surgeon." So,
Wow.
David from Indiana, I appreciate it. I'll see if I can't, dig up some good surgeons and get a consultation. But you are here. Welcome to the conversation where we unpack the wild, interconnected chaos shaping our world, including the population's decline and all the reasons for it. Here with Joe Edgar and Ethan Kroc. So, some other interesting, feedback we got was, a user said, they replied with "excellent, great job, team." Fist bump emoji, flag emoji, fire emoji. Great
Yeah.
work, all. Powerful start. Just
Wait, did
kidding.
we
That
get that
wasn't
one on
us.
Signal? Did we get that one on
Yes,
Signal?
exactly. Unfortunately, we were not included in the Signal chat, but that's exactly what it was. That is the leaders of the U.S. Government who responded to each other after killing 53 people in Yemen. And yeah, I was pretty taken back because one of them was even in the response of saying, "Oh, he went into his girlfriend's building." And then and that's where they all applaud each other. It's an interesting story because I personally think it's much ado about nothing, but let some committee sort it out. It sounds like it's definitely similar to the Hillary Clinton issue, but like I don't care. Move. There's so many other issues. Let's worry about other issues. I don't really care about it that much. What I find more interesting about this story is how many in this administration will like not admit any mistakes. Like
Well,
zero.
it's
Zero
like getting.
mistakes at all.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I mean, even to make up fantasies about him, somehow the journalist hacked his way into the conversation rather than, admit
That's
fault.
Waltz, right?
Yeah.
Waltz is
Um,
like, I just got off the phone with Elon Musk, and we're gonna figure this out. Like Mr. Black Hat's somehow gonna figure it out. So I did like the founder of Signal though put out a small message that he said, "Hey, join Signal today and get a chance to be included on Defense
yeah,
Department
yeah.
attack plans."
I'm sure there's a
I was
bunch
like,
of what are they, Houthis or the
the Houthis out there are all jumping on it. Like, man, I
yeah,
didn't realize we could
the
jump into this.
signal.
We all been
And
on Telegram. Bloody hell!
yeah.
It did. As I read through them, I mean, so many of them sound like frat boys talking to each other.
Yeah, but I mean, has Tim? Sorry, what's his name? Is it Tim? It's not Tim Waltz. That's the other guy, right?
Waltz. Oh
Waltz. Okay.
wait, yeah, Waltz. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Secretary of, or
Well,
he's not Secretary of Defense. That's heads except Waltz is National Defense Advisor,
well,
National Security Advisor.
even Pete, has he never worked for a big company before? You're not supposed to reply all emails, right? Like,
Exactly.
oh my gosh. No, I mean, the greatest thing about it though is it has been a hard 4 years for the media, for comedians. Like they just, no one
It's
was
true.
prepared to make fun of Biden, even though it was comedy gold. I mean, he's fallen upstairs, fallen off bikes, fallen off stages, shitting his pants on live TV. But at least we've finally got comedy back. I mean, like some of
I can't
the,
wait for Saturday Night Live this
oh
weekend.
my gosh, like I was watching some liberal rag that I usually don't even like, and it's just pure comedy gold. I mean, it's been missing. Saturday Night Live might be funny again now.
Exactly. Well, I did read one of them. First of all, I think Goldberg, Jeffrey Goldberg, he's an editor at the Atlantic, which is, I'll admit, it's kind of a failing magazine. It's not going a lot of places. He had a run-in with Trump back in 2020 where he did this whole bit about Trump basically criticizing some of the fallen soldiers, and Trump administration attacked him at that time, calling it fake news, and basically has hated him ever since. It's probably why Waltz added him to the chain because there was probably memo like, do not include Jeffrey Goldberg. And Waltz is like, okay, I'll include. So that's probably how he got, included. But what's great is Jeffrey Goldberg missed like the ultimate troll opportunity. I wouldn't have been able to resist it because if you're in on this, the first thing they say is Waltz puts out, it's like, hey, I'm putting together this group. And they do have skiffs. So skiffs are these, it's like if you've ever watched Get Smart and the Cone of Silence.
Some of All Fears, they have one.
Yeah, exactly. So they have these skiffs for, these type of conversations, but whether or not this was classified information or sensitive information, it seems like the same thing to me, right? I can't tell the difference, but it's definitely a conversation. I'm like, this doesn't seem like it should have been happening in town. But Waltz puts out the first message. He's like, hey guys, getting all the buddies together. How's everybody doing? He's like, hey, just tell me who your best contact is for your office. And everybody like responds like, do Department of this, do. If I was Jeffrey Waltz, I would have not been able to resist responding, Hillary Clinton, The Atlantic. Like, it would have been the ultimate troll. Like, just boom, into the conversation. But no, now I did hear an interview with Goldberg, and he, for him, he thought it was like, oh, this is like a grift. It's not real. He's like, this is weird. But he like accepted it. So he's like, okay, I'm reading this thing. But, he thought for sure, he's like, someone's trying to get me to write a story about this. And then they're going to go and call me like fake news idiot, right? So he's like, I'm not falling for that. This looks weird. And so he doesn't believe it until they start talking about like, all right, the attack's going to happen in like 2 hours. And he's watching news and he's like,
he thinks he's being baited. Yeah.
yeah. He thinks he's being baited. And then he's just dumbfounded, which I would be too. I'd be dumbfounded. So in the story, you got to understand that as bad as you may think of Goldberg, he does go back to some history where he wrote lots of stuff about weapons of mass destruction back in the Bush era. But like him or not, here are the ethics. This guy saw a chain. When he realizes this is real, he's like, he has the decision to make. Did he just get like the ultimate chain story he could keep forever? Just keep his mouth shut and he has the inside scoop. What journalist wouldn't want that? Or does he say, okay, I'm leaving the chat. And then now everything he has read, he's got to admit, is like, okay, but I saw as a reporter, so I do have a duty to like report this, but I need to leave this chat. So to me, I'm like, well, it does seem like the ethical move to make him leaving the chat. But in addition, then after that first part. So he misses his opportunity to do, a great troll. But Vance comes in, and this is the best part because Vance starts the conversation. His opener is, hey guys, I'm going to be out today. I just want to let you know you're all making a mistake. Now, I saw that. I was like, you know what? That's almost like if you were to give relationship advice, right? That's almost the top one of saying like, hey, if you ever really want to like talk to your girlfriend, this is the best opener. I think the only one better than that would be if you were to say like, hey, honey, why did you buy blank? I think that's the only one that would be worse than saying like, hey, I'm leaving and you're wrong. I mean, that's like the ultimate end. So that's how he starts the conversation. So they're clearly having a debate in this entire context, which seems to be
actually caught on to who's in the chat. Maybe he's the owner and he's read all the, CCs or whatever. And look, you're still, I mean, this is if that is what has happened, right? So what has happened, if it's a mistake, it's very, very funny. It's very ridiculous. It's very scary having world leaders do that. But and yeah, you can't excuse any of their behavior in the chat. But my conspiracy mind goes straight to it's a setup as well, right? Like, this is an easy way to kind of expose incompetence in the Trump White House. One of those people in the chat, I mean, did they accidentally invite? It's a strange person to accidentally invite. Like you're saying, unless it was in some kind of, they've willed it into the universe by trying to exclude him somehow and included him. But, I mean, it could be a setup.
And who are you thinking? Because, I mean, apparently this Susie Wiles, there's two Susie Wiles on the chain. So apparently one of him is But
some,
these are
yeah.
approved devices, right?
Yeah. I know. That's
So I
what I'm
mean,
saying. Like, so that's why
so
they
I
did
get it.
nothing
So
wrong.
right. So then if I dig into your conspiracy here, we're talking
Yep.
about like somebody had a device, and then on the device they like either now
No.
this
Just
could be conspiracy two ways. Are you say this is a
I'm
conspiracy like
saying,
from internal?
I'm saying someone in his cabinet is a
Okay.
traitor,
Okay.
and I'll tell you why. And I bet you it's the guy. It's Tim, right? It's the guy who did it because look at
Wait,
the
Waltz?
media.
Not
Look at
not
the
Tim, but
look at
Waltz.
sorry, Waltz. Yeah,
Waltz. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Look at the response, right? And I think they tried to get Pete. I think they tried to embarrass Pete big time. But look at the response from the media. They're actually a lot of Democrats are out there defending the guy who started the Signal chat, right? And
Right.
so that shows me that like you rarely get bipartisan,
So this is kind of like the
forgiveness.
Godfather of like always be suspicious of whoever asked for the meeting. That
Well, it doesn't make sense to me because the Democrats will be jumping right on it. I know some are, but
well,
even
Rubio admitted that he's like somebody made a mistake. This is a mistake. I don't know if he's going to be outed now because in opposition to Rubio, I don't know if you saw our Department of Justice, Bondi. I, I kid you not.
he's
I
very
was watching
pretty.
this, very very pretty, and she's giving. They're asking her, and she's serious, got a straight face. Asking this, like, will the Department of Justice be involved in this? They don't want to call it a scandal, so they're like this signal issue, and I would think she starts off what I would think her response would be like, I don't want to comment on an ongoing, investigation. That sounds like something that's pretty normal.
Unlike Kash Patel's response.
Exactly. She stops short. She says, I don't want to comment until you want to talk about crooked Hillary and her emails at her home server, or if you want to talk about, Joe Biden and his documents. So I'm just like, wow, that is our body Department of, Justice. That I guess that tells us where, the loyalty and bias is going to be in the Department of Justice. So there's so many interesting things that, fall inside of this. But so another thing that came out that I'm kind of like, all right, dig into your conspiracy theory, because I think this goes along probably what you're saying. Hegseth responds to vice president's comments where he says, why are we even doing this? We're bailing out Europe. They have more containers going through there than anybody, right? And so he responds, I agree with your loathing of these freeloaders in reference to Europe. Loathing of these freeloaders. And then all caps, pathetic. First of all caps is amazing. I love when people, use all caps. And these guys, I think you and I are like the oldest of millennials.
Yeah, I
Most of
don't
these
even know.
guys,
Yeah, I don't know if we can be
yeah,
classified.
most of these guys are older than us.
Yeah,
I think Hexas around our age, but they're like, savvy emoji users. I mean, we use the flex
well,
emoji.
that's what I'm saying. The technology wasn't available before, right? So that's what you're gonna see more and more embarrassing stuff just because the technology is giving us a window into the worst wing now. It used to be called the West Wing. I think it's called the worst wing now. But like it is, it's the best reality TV show we've ever had. You couldn't cast better characters, and yeah, I'm
Do
yeah
you think that's because you're saying because technology now
yeah
makes
because
social media available that people are. Now, I will
hundred
admit,
percent.
one thing about Trump is that he's way more transparent than any other president we've ever had, for better or worse. Right? So you do get to see some things. But when it comes to transparency, he's transparent in a strange way because he holds these meetings and he has learned that he does not want any of his administration having. He's like, I don't want you talking to the press by yourself. So when they talk to the press, they're almost always right next to him. And they almost always first give their accolades to him. He's like,
Yeah.
first of all, I'm alive and you're alive because, Christ and Savior, Donald Trump, has risen and is here before me and now speak. And so almost every one of them, references it in this way, which is strange because it's like, well, is it transparent? I mean, now you have a cabinet that basically is scared to death to say anything on their own or anything that is not, incongruous with what Trump says. So then you end up with a strange bias where basically they're like, okay, let's follow him on Truth Social and echo anything he says. So instead of getting transparency, you really just get this massive echo chamber.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, no, and that's what we were being warned about. Um, it seems like a South Park episode. When's South Park gonna get involved with
Go
this
back on.
one?
I don't know. I don't know. I'd rather see The Simpsons. They're going on what 25 years now. I think this might bring The Simpsons back to like the top of the charts. If they get this, this is Homer running the government. This is frat boys. I do see
Yeah.
Elon Musk and Donald Trump are like two guys who stayed up late drinking, and then what happens when two college boys stay up drinking? The first idea that comes to mind, all of them, is like, hey, let's open a bar. Let's open a bar. That would be great. This is like, hey, let's do tariffs. Awesome. Let's get some tariffs going. So this is kind of their balance, where it's like it's seeming more and more like frat boys all hanging out. And even Vance kind of called out. He said in the chat, he says, well, the president doesn't quite understand how this is a mix-up in his message, because he is trying to call Europe a freeloader. He's trying to echo the goal of freeloader, who right now is in Greenland. I think it's still on, although he canceled some of the Greenland stuff. But he's trying to call Europe a freeloader because they won't spend more on NATO, and then here he is going to bail out Europe somehow because he's going to attack Houthis. So this is also the president who went on the thing of like, end attacks, no more attacks. And then he wants to, first chance he gets, he's like on the 8th hole. He's like, oh, I got to take a pause. I'm going to go. These guys say it's good. Let's and there were, there's a lot of civilians. And so it's strange that, there is a lot of hypocrisy going on here, because in one case, he's like, we got to stop the killings. We're going to give Russia anything they want to make concessions because we're going to stop the killing, but then we're going to just bomb the hell out of it. And then we find out they got the information from Israel. So Israel, who we know that's really what the Houthis are after, is Israel ships stop shipping to Israel. And so Israel gave them the locations, like, sure, buddy, we'll get you on this one. You get the next one. So in conspiracy, this has to go like, if you're buying into conspiracies, it has to go like two different conspiracies, right? There's the internal one that wants to expose the Trump administration. And I don't know if you ever watch Larry David's Curb This Appeal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just barely got turned on into it. It's hilarious. But he does an
Yeah.
episode called the Accidental Text. That's the best one, because it's like, oh, anytime your wife's angry at you or something, you could just send this accidental text and you look good, right? And so they start doing this, which I don't. Have you ever been accidentally included on a text chain?
Oh yeah, and I'm surprised that I don't accidentally include more people when I'm sending sensitive information.
That's a good question. I've never thought if I've included somebody. I remember one I was included on. It was for a family reunion.
Or even responding. You respond back to the wrong thread.
I have done that.
Or
Yeah,
wrong
that's
message.
fair enough. I have done that. Yeah, I have definitely sent emails to the wrong Mike or the wrong Alec or something. So I have definitely done that. But I was on one text chain. It was a wedding, and I actually started to enjoy it. It was like they were sending photos of like they were planning for a reunion, and somebody was getting married at the reunion, so they were like pumping stuff up, like, oh, do you like these? So it was all good until I responded, and I think this is probably what Goldberg had the same problem with. As soon as I responded, I think, because if you send out, like if you set up the text chain, right, then somehow you messed it up. But so long as you don't respond, nobody else knows who's really on the thing. But as soon as you
Really?
respond,
Is that
then
how
it
you
shows,
signal?
right, as soon as you respond, everybody's like, well, who is that? Because it doesn't show up on your contacts. So I responded like nice. I was like, oh, it looks great. And then that was it. I'm sure.
How long had
like,
you been
what?
stalking before you responded?
It was probably a week. It was probably a good week. Just kind of like, and I was enjoying it. I was
reckon
like starting to, and there were so many photos and pictures of people getting excited, like, oh, I'm going to see you soon. And then they were even sending like video chats of like, oh, of the babies and the kids all excited to see each other. So I was feeling like part of the family. So I almost lost, it was pretty sad. I'm sure, Jeff is kind of bummed that he's out of the loop now. So.
Yeah, he blew it.